Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we're talking Terminal World 3. Getting ready for the announcement here. It is not even officially announced that we're getting one this year. I hope we do. I hope that that's coming. I would expect that announcement in the next 2-3 months ish, somewhere in that time frame. I just really enjoy this product. It's an OCG only product, so if you don't know about it, I'll explain it really quickly. Basically, the OCG will take 4 dual terminal archetypes per year, put 4 of them in this set, reprint the whole like core of the deck in the OCG, and give each archetype 4 brand new cards. I know that didn't sound like a lot, and especially not a lot to stand on for an entire product, but the execution has really what's impressed me with this product. That whether it's a good archetype already, they've made it even better and let it climb into competitive play, or if it's a bad one, they've actually given it still some really powerful cards to kind of like jump it up as well. Just running through the first terminal world here, Ice Barrier got their structure, never been good before. Plus the 4 cards here, actually a solid rogue deck. Infernoid became a rogue deck paired with Snake Eye support. Ritual Beast, a former Juggernaut competitive league, snuck back up into tiered play legitimately, like very, very scary deck a couple formats ago. And then Gen X. Gen X was kind of the poo-poo archetype, which was just had very few like playables in their archetype, but they gave him a Broken Link 1. So like even if you love one of the terrible archetypes for dual terminal, you might just get like a Broken Link 1 level card, right? And be very stoked that your favorite deck is back up. And you can at least mess with them, right? And then for Terminal World 2, Necroz, I think it's somewhere in that like roguish tier. So like they jumped up a little bit. Gem Knights jumped up kind of like Ritual Beast for in the OCG at least. We haven't even gotten these printed in the TCG yet, but soon. Gem Knight jumped up into tiered play. Fabled kind of flopped a little bit. I thought with the Fiendsmith stuff, this could maybe be one of the like cheeky Fiendsmith variants, but it just never, it doesn't have enough on its own like side of things. So that was maybe the one flop. And then you had Durex. If you read Durex cards, you were like, I'm not sure Durex has a single playable in their entire archetype. And now it's probably the best play to play dinos. And now dinos actually have a direction going forward, this synchro strategy that wipes the board multiple times. So it's cool. And I just think overall, whether it's one of the poo archetypes or an archetype that already has a decent leg to stand on, Konami's going to transition them up a couple tiers, and they've done a good job with that overall. So it gets me excited, especially when I look at some of the archetypes left over and what I'm looking for. At the end of this video, I'm going to go through my 4 picks, what my perfect Terminal World 3 would look like. So I want to see your guys' list in the comment section down below. I'd love to see that. But let's get into this portion of the video. We need to look at some of these archetypes, and we need to show which ones are how good their like current level is, because Konami needs to build off of something, right? Or nothing in Jurax's case and Gen X's case. And so I broke these up into 3 categories. Pooh, this is kind of like the interesting, like they have a couple interesting cards that kind of don't feel quite on the level of Noise, but definitely better than Pooh. And then obviously the Noise tier is the good setup. So looking at the Pooh archetypes, it's Constellar for sure. It's an XZ deck that doesn't even have monsters of the same level. Like very awkward deck. X Saber, their cards are just too old. I know a lot of people are big nostalgic fans for this one. Their cards just do not hold up, so Konami's going to almost have to start from scratch if they pick them. Ally of Justice, just pretty terrible across the board. Flamvel, same thing. They got Neo Flamvel Lady in 2019, but other than that, pretty bad. Laval has a couple interesting cards, but they just weren't enough because there's nothing else built around them, even though they have like 15, 20 cards. Mist Valley, again, like Apex Avion, cool. The field spell, pretty good. But outside of that, I'm like, nothing else really. Worm's pretty terrible. Vion's pretty terrible. Steel Swarm, pretty terrible. There's not much to say here. These are kind of your poo archetypes. And there's 9 of them. So almost half of the archetypes left are kind of in that poo tier. So there's a good chance 1 or even 2 of these could get selected in a Terminal World 3. For that middle tier, I have Evil Swarm. Good traps, good extract monsters, just terrible engine to get them to it. So if they did get picked, that's what I want. That's what Konami would probably need to focus on. But that side of things is handled. Gishki, without Sprite Elf, they can't lean on Sprite too much to like take advantage of. But they did get a decent little wave a couple of years ago, so that's worth mentioning. Apocalypse or Klee in general. I struggle with believing that this play style can work in modern day. It's just, even if you make really good towers monsters, really good decks in Yu-Gi-Oh can find outs to really sticky towers. They just can. We just have cards, and like a deck can just keep playing and get to either a massive access code or a underworld goddess or whatever. So I feel like this playstyle can struggle if you don't have enough interruptions to back it up. But still, they do have some powerful cards inside of that archetype at the end of the day. And Gusto was actually surprising to me. There's a surprising amount of just like playables in Gusto, including a couple really good cards. There's a synchro that helps them synchro climb really well. There's I think a quip spell that's actually like crazy. It's like a crazy like engine card. But yeah, I think Gusto actually does have a little bit to stand on for sure. And then for the top tier, Dragoonity, they got some stuff. Shadal's probably the best one on this entire list in terms of how well they're set up. Nasty extra deck, nasty fusion spells, pretty good main deck monsters. They just need better starters. They need to get going quicker. Teller Knights, crazy extra deck, pretty good main deck monsters. Just need to kind of glue those main deck monsters together a little better. We'll see. Naturia, between Mole Cricket and, of course, the other new cards they got a couple years ago, that new basis of a core already sets them up for a lot of future success. So that's solid. Yang Zing, good traps, good extract monsters. Their main deck's not as good, but the difference between them and like Evil Swarms is that they can lean on Sword Soul. They can lean on Tenny. They have other archetypes they can combine with to be a little bit better there. So it works out fine for them, I think, to be nice. And then Zephyra. Zephyra's got a really good core. They got good searchers, good trap interruptions, and cards like Zafrath. They just need the starters and a little bit of power, oomph to their deck to get it going. But that's kind of the power level of all the archetypes left over. There's a couple of other tiers down here that I want to go over. There's a couple of double decks that I think are worth mentioning. So Evil Swarm and Steel Swarm, because they share the name L Swarm in their names, Konami can make double support for them at the same time. At the same time, there's also Constellar and Teller Knight. We saw this with their support a couple years ago, but it still rings true that Konami could kind of find a way to get double dip here and get two archetypes for one by picking either of these sets and making it Teller Knight support. But it's also going to be 4 cards that basically support Constellar at the same time. You would expect Teller Knight to be the more popular archetype overall. And kind of same thing with Evil Swarm over Steel Swarm, but does that give Konami a little extra incentive to pick them? If they know they're only doing 1 or 2 more Terminal World sets, why not try to fit in kind of like 5 archetypes instead of 4 this time around? So I could see that happening. Just something that I think was interesting to me that like maybe could give these choices like a little bit extra incentive for Konami to pick them. And then there's also been a couple archetypes in the last couple of years that have gotten pretty decent support. I don't think this means any of them are eliminated from being selected. Konami gave Ice Barriers like a structure deck and then like immediately put them into Terminal World 1. So like would not be shocked at all if like they get picked. I just wonder if it lowers their chances. So in 2020, Dragoon got a full-on structure deck, so that's 8 new cards. In 2019, I believe, right? Shadal got a full-on structure deck, and have gotten cards since then. I think both of those archetypes have. From there, Naturia got a really strong wave in 2022, enough so that one of the cards got banned in the TCG, or at least limited to 1. What else here matters? Gishki got a wave of support in 2022, and it saw brief play as like a solid rogue deck, even like tiered deck potentially with sprites. But like I said, when Elf got banned, that variant kind of disappeared. And then Constellar and Teller Knight kind of paired together. Both got support in 2023, the most recent support of all of these. Again, not saying they're eliminated, but I wonder if Konami does look at these archetypes and go, well, they've already gotten theirs somewhat recently. Let's get around to some of the other archetypes and go from there. Although I will say there's an argument that out of everything left for all of Dual Terminal, there's an argument that Shadal, Dragoonity, and like Teller Knights may be the 3 most popular archetypes left. And if you're trying to sell a product, you got to make sure there's at least one big banger in there to kind of draw a lot of fans in. Because if you just pick Vions, Gusto, X-Saber, and Cleaforts, I'm not sure it has like the draw power if you don't have like a Juggernaut, like a Shadal or a Teller Knights in there. So just saying, doesn't eliminate them, but it's something to watch. And that takes me to my final 4. Hopefully you've already put yours down below so you don't copy my list, but let's get into it. Number 4 for me is Shadal. I don't even love shit all that much, but I am a big flip fan. I didn't even realize I was for the longest time, but then I like looked at my probably like top 10 favorite decks of all time and I was like, huh, Subterra's in there, Mimigul's in there, Ninja's in there. I know Shadal doesn't really play like a flip deck for the most part. It mainly it is more so leaned on the fusion side of it more than just like the actual flip side of the deck. But I could see a world where the flip stuff becomes more relevant. They have a lot of really powerful tools. I could see myself getting into Shadal's if they get the right kind of support. So there's that. Number 3 for me is Teller Knights. This is just a nostalgia one. I've loved playing Teller Knights pre 2023 support. This was a long time ago before I was even messing with like a competitive version of the game. But I liked the way that they played. I liked how they kept setting up for next turn and all that stuff. And so I have nostalgia for them. I love their designs, and they have really good tools already. Good at main deck tools, good extract tools. Like I said earlier, they need to find a way to glue some of their main deck tools together, so that way they can make a rank 4 like way easier. You need like 2 card hands just to make one rank 4 that loses to like one hand trap. It's brutal. The deck can be brutal like that. So, yeah, I just want to see some cohesion in the main decks. That way we can take advantage of these good extra deck tools a little bit better. Number 2 for me is Evil Swarm. Some people are going to be unhappy to see this because they know what Ophion does and they say, that card is so toxic. I hate that card. You're probably right. But I envision a world where even if this deck got 4 really, really high quality cards, at best, this deck is like a decent rogue deck. It'd get to like Exosister level maybe at best, but nowhere higher than that. And I think that's fine. Like I said earlier, this deck has solid trap cards and solid extra deck tools. No engine cards whatsoever. Funny enough, I think Heliotrope, the normal monster, is probably the best Evil Swarm monster at the moment just because of the Primite engine. And that's hilarious. That's actually your best engine card, is a vanilla. So yeah, if I were Konami, I would want to make sure I give this deck at least 3 of the 4 slots focused on, let's give them a main deck engine that helps them pump out at least 2 Exceeds, and focus on that. But I think that's definitely the move going forward, and I'd love to see it. I just like the play. I like what they're doing here, and it's just like that. I don't know. It's that Altergeisty pre, like board spam support and Exosistery kind of archetype, and I'm down for it. I'm down for it. I don't care. And number 1 for me is Zephrys, and it's not even close. That's the big thing for me, is if Zephrys made it in this next Terminal World 3 and none of the other ones for my top 4 made it, I'd still be over the moon. This is my favorite archetype out of these by far. I really, really love this archetype. I don't even like pendulums. It's literally just this archetype. I played this archetype a couple of years ago as a rogue deck and I actually saw quite a bit of success with it. I think I think it's just so cool. This is like the only pendulum deck I've ever been able to play with like actual control, mid-range tactics rather than just having to play the wombo combo, pendulum pile that you've had to play for years to basically is what it's felt like to play anything sort of in the range of like actually good. And so I think they have a ton of tools. They have 2 Rotas in the main deck. So basically you give them 1 good starter monster card. That card's already like a 10 of. Give them 2 and now you've got like 13. And deck doesn't really have a good normal summon. Deck doesn't really, I can envision them getting something in the realm of like a Super Heavy Samurai Wakaushi kind of starter monster that just gets a lot of stuff set up. Ideally a card that gets you as a Frath in scale and another scale to just like a meat and maybe a body on field off of 1 card, which isn't even that crazy. Like think about what 1 card combos do in modern day. That's not even insane. And maybe also give them a normal summon. I think a Link 2 would probably do well. This is like the only pendulum archetype I can think of that has no Link monsters whatsoever. It feels like every pendulum archetype has gotten a Link monster. This one has not, except for the Link 3. Sorry. Metaltron. Metaltron's terrible. It's just an unplayable card for like modern day standards. So yeah, a new Link 2 would be really cool to see. And yeah, I would be over the moon if this archetype got picked. I get it. Zephyr Path, a little bit scary. The ability for this deck to search literally any monster in the game, a little bit scary. I feel you. But like, come on. 2 years ago when this deck was a rogue deck, nobody cared when I was doing that stuff. It was like still just such a fine deck, not even that crazy, because the ceiling was still so much lower than every other deck in the game. But I'd love to see it. This is my number one pick. It's not even close. Let me know your picks down below. I'd love to see what your 4 archetype list is in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on just Terminal World 3 in general. What do you want to see? I guess mainly it just comes down to your archetypes, but yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully we get this announced soon, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.